Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 91 for April 1st, 2014. Happy April Fools to everyone out there who knows that. I'm not sure which countries do April Fools. Anyways, my name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and this week's editor of the podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burn to One, the special guest coordinator of the podcast.
I'm Flutterguy317, and I do the media managing of the podcast.
And I'm Atmospark. I do the questions, the DeviantArt, and the email.
I'm fairly certain that April Fools is not a worldwide phenomenon.
No,
but I suppose once you get like Western plus like North and South America plus Europe, I guess it's good enough.
Well, I mean, like
apparently
in France, isn't it like le poisson d'avril, the April fish, and like it's kind of the same thing, but like involving fish. I'm not really sure.
I guess. But for people out there who aren't aware of our strange customs, April Fool's Day is a day in which we all decide to play pranks on each other. That's basically degraded into just telling lies and then going April Fools.
Yeah. So guys, I'm leaving the fandom.
Right, exactly.
April Fools.
That's an example of an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm secretly a pony.
Guys, I'm secretly
a horse.
Oh my god, that makes so much
these
sense.
are bad examples because Burns' one was actually true.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, it's true.
Anyways, so that's what April Fool's is. It just so happens that it falls on a podcast day, which is interesting. So happy April Fools to all the people watching out there.
Hopefully you guys did some pranking and got pranked, and it was all in good fun and lighthearted.
It's one of those pseudo holidays that like I don't really celebrate. It's more like, oh yeah, it's a thing. It's cool that lots of people do that, and then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm usually busy around April 1st, so it's like I'm in the middle of something, so it's not like I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to plan out this huge April Fool's joke. It's more like, oh my god, stress, exams.
Yeah.
So
I'll actually be surprised if anyone actually pranks me on April 1st, like, honestly.
Yeah.
I expect, like, with my friends, I expect to just be like, her, April Fool's stupid thing, you know. That's basically what it becomes.
My roommate doesn't try to prank me anymore because last time we tried it backfired horribly on him.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do the toothpaste and Oreos thing. I just ate the Oreo, I didn't even know there was toothpaste in it.
Wow, this Oreo is really tasty.
Yeah, it was.
It's so
It was like,
minty.
this is
I
really
love
minty.
mint
This is
Oreos.
great.
Did you dunk it in like a mojito or
No, I just
something?
ate it straight up. I just ate it straight up.
You dunked it in orange juice first, just because. Why not? Just
toothpaste
because
and
why
orange
not?
juice. Anyhow.
So I guess we should really quickly, before we start the episode, just remind people about a couple things that are going on around the CAC. So first of all, we've got our 100th episode coming up, and just to remind people, that is the episode in which we want you guys to send in the answers to two questions. What are those two questions, Flutterguy?
The questions are, what have you learned from the podcast? And what did you enjoy, or what have you enjoyed from the podcast?
Yes, so what have you learned and what have you enjoyed? Send that into our email, cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com, and we will try to put that on the show for our 100th episode when we will be kind of discussing that and that topic and stuff like that.
You can You can send in text or audio.
Yes, text or audio, thank you.
Yeah.
We also have some stuff coming up really soon for Crab Battle. Burned, what can they send into our email?
If you can send into our email a piece of Crab Battle fan art that you have made. So just a picture that is a Crab Battle that you have made specifically for a special Crab Battle episode that's going on. More details in our DeviantArt journal.
Yes. Should be in the description. And just send it into our email. And that's coming up in, a couple weeks now, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, Crab Battle.
2
Crab
weeks.
Battle Part 3.
So remember,
Made by the fans for the fans.
April 11th is the last day that you can submit for that.
Yep.
So make sure to get on that. So those two things, submission, we got lots of submissions, we're relying on you guys, but I know you guys are awesome, so you guys will get to that. Speaking of getting to it,
Yes.
we should probably get to this episode.
Yes. So our theme for this week, we kind of thought long and hard since this is April 1st, April Fool's Day. So our theme for this week is Mahower. None other than Mahower, the lovely shower of man.
It would be the absolute best thing to do in this situation. And we've been, frankly, waiting for a very long time. So I suppose, I mean, without further ado...
I've been waiting my whole life for this theme. You have no idea.
Wait.
Sorry.
He's here. Guys, we can't do this with him here.
Guys, who invited Mahauer to the call? Who invited Mahauer to the
And was this you?
It's funny because I was actually super pumped for this theme because I actually commissioned art specifically for this theme.
I'm pumped to see that too.
Yeah, it's true. I totally planned on this Mahauer theme.
Man, now we can't do it with him here though.
See, look at this. Bernd has gone out of his way to get this commission done.
Yeah.
By Bernd. Who did this commission?
This commission is done by. Sorry, Andy Price. Sorry, this commission's done by Andy Price.
Man, that's awesome.
Bernd has gone out of his way to get a commission for Andy Price to do this Mahauer episode, and now we have to just throw it all out.
Yeah.
Wait, you know what? Just
So,
guys, just throw all of it out. Okay.
You know what?
Just throw. You know what, Mahauer? While you're here,
Yeah.
you might as well stay. You know,
we got to come up with another theme though.
You're
like
a cool
last
guy.
minute.
It's not your fault that you exist. Okay. It's
You know,
fine.
sometimes
You're
I
a cool
feel like
guy.
it is, man.
Guys.
So-
Mahauer, do you have a theme for us like that we can actually use since you're here?
I mean, there's nothing that could come close to the Mahauer theme, but
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten requests from people that you guys should do a Spike episode.
I guess we can kind of gather some art up
A
for that.
spike episode, huh?
It's nothing close to Mahauer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But it's something.
No, I like it. Okay.
we'll roll with it.
Sure. Let's go with that. Okay, guys. Shift focus here. Just give it a second, but we can do it. All right. So we'll switch over to a spike theme. Sorry, audience, for this mess of. Oh my god.
Yeah. You know.
Just don't even get me
We're
started on this
professional,
one.
I
But
swear.
Yeah, it would suck if they raised you up and crushed you like that.
we are professionals and we can totally handle this. So let's do spike. All right. Thunder guy, you got this.
Yeah. Okay. Our first piece is called "The Power Ponies," 16:9 by Mystic Alpha.
Well, the 16:9 isn't really necessary.
I mean, it's 16:9.
It's just the version that fits the screen really nicely.
There's also
Yeah,
a 16:10
so-
version.
There is a 16:10 version.
Yeah. So Mystic Alpha does this thing, I guess to explain a little bit, where Mystic Alpha is basically amazing. And what he does is he takes all of his pieces that he does and he makes them into like wallpaper sizes, so like standard sizes. And anybody who's listened to the podcast for a while knows that I am a sucker for standardizing sizes. So 16:10, 16:9 wallpaper sizes, perfect. Ooh,
Yeah.
love it. Look at how nicely it fits the screen here.
You can easily use that as a wallpaper on your 16:9 monitor. That's say 1080 or 1920 by 1080.
You could.
Or
Right, exactly. I love it. I could use this exactly. So yeah, Mystic Alpha, mad props for that. You guys should probably talk about the art.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give mad props to Mystic Alpha for doing that so frequently because that is just amazing.
So we haven't had Mystic Alpha on in a long time, but I love his work, especially his shading style, because it's always so fantastic. And it's a little bit different in this piece than we see normally, because he does this kind of hatching style. But in this piece, he's using a combination of hatching and also some hard shading. And his hatching in this piece is a little kind of messy. Whereas normally in his other pieces, his hatching is very strict and like
I disagree
layered and
because
stuff.
that
Yeah.
hatching is his signature.
Oh my gosh!
I was
Oh my
about to
gosh.
say, did you notice that the only messing hatching is his name?
Yes, I was looking at it as I was saying that, and I'm like, wait a second, those are letters. Oh my god!
It's
Yeah.
because he's made each one of these the characters individually. Like I don't know. Like I can see the Twilight in the more from section, but because when he made this, it cut off his signature from each character, and he's got one on the bottom corner. That is his signature now. So if you do take that one little piece of it, it'll be his signature.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I didn't even notice that till you said it.
That-
That's awesome.
yeah. That is a fantastic way to incorporate your signature.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Creative.
man. Yeah.
Super creative. And I mean, that's directly in his style. Mystic Alpha does that a lot. He's got very distinctive styling to him. And one of the things that is really common to him is like, again, this kind of hatching thing. So he recognizes, look, I do hatching a lot. I wonder if I can sneak in my name for the hatching. Because you're right. I did notice that it was a bit less orderly.
Yeah.
So I was looking through and I was like, why does this look so
Oh
like
my
I was
goodness.
noticing on every single piece there was a part of it. And I was like, wait a second. Every single piece there's a part that's not orderly.
I was just looking through his more later works, like the stuff that he's done most recently, and it's in like pretty much every single work of his for a little while, actually.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess he's
that's
like
awesome.
switched up to that, but that's a really, really cool way.
It's a very creative way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also ensures
Oh.
you can't just like Photoshop out the signature.
Yeah,
that
I
makes
think
it
that's a
kinda
big problem that he was finding
Yeah.
was that if you can put the signature in the corner, but then people will just zoom in
Yeah.
because art thieves will be art thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Or they don't even
Um,
bother to cut out the signature, they'll just put it up.
I
Yeah.
guess so, yeah.
I do love the way that Mystic Alpha does use shading though in his pieces, because the ponies for them like by themselves are fairly show accurate in terms of like how they're all outlined, and the outlines kind of match their fill colors and stuff like that. But he uses this kind of multi-layered hard shading in addition to the cross shading, and you get these like kind of well-defined muzzles and like well-defined features on their faces and stuff like that, and it's really cool. It's very cartoony, but it's also, really, really well done.
Yeah, I think that is definitely what sets him apart. He's got a little bit more to him than just so accurate with interesting shading for sure. There's some certain techniques that he uses, and he uses a really interesting program to do his art in. Doesn't he use something like Manga Studio?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
So
it,
that's
it looks vector, but it's not.
Yeah.
The way his brushes work is just really, really clean lines.
Yeah. Which is something that you would see in vectors and not really in like the more traditional or even some digital when you're dealing with brushes, but like something like this for sure. Yeah.
Power ponies.
Yeah.
I guess this is a good time to kind of like reminisce about the Power Pony. What did everyone think about the Power Ponies as characters in general?
I liked them. It was really cool to like have that comparison to superheroes that we know in other shows and movies and stuff like that. So like for instance, like Rarity being Green Lantern and like
Pinky being the
Pinky
Flash.
yeah,
Flutter Hulk.
yeah.
Of course.
I guess
It's just always tying back to culture like that, like especially pop culture and comics and stuff. I think is always great. I mean, I'm at a Comic-Con right now, so what's that?
Yeah. I like the
So my
fact that they
audio's
weren't like super overt about it. Like they weren't like, look, Pinkie Pie is the Flash, except with one letter letter
Rarity
change.
is the Purple Lantern.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit more personalized in a way. So I like that.
Yeah, and the characters definitely fit, or like the personalities definitely fit with the characters.
Yeah, they put a lot of time into that. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. One more thing that I noticed in this piece, which is amazing, and I don't know if, I guess Mystic Alpha does it a lot now, is with the eye shading, because eyes are usually gradients on ponies, and in this, there's kind of like a second iris or retina that he's put on that's a lighter color, and then he's just kind of hatched the eye with this black.
Yep.
Which is kind of, it's an interesting style.
It's like a false gradient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is it sort of like tricks you into it, which is great.
Yeah.
The way that he does that.
And it's very, very comic book like, I think, or like comic-y. So it fits perfectly with the theme of this art, because it's, comic book heroes and stuff.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right. So next.
Sure.
Sure. Unless someone has anything else to say about this piece, because Mystic Alpha is fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah, we haven't
Mystic
featured him for a
Alpha's a
while.
classic.
No,
Yeah.
just bravo. He's one of those artists that always sticks on our show, and we're always looking at his stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of the first artists that I really kind of clung to in terms of like, I know this guy. I know this guy's
Yeah, me
style.
too.
I got a
Yeah.
commission from him.
So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I think his style. Sorry about your commission, but I think his style really like it sticks out a lot because a lot of people like the show style, and that's kind of why we all got into it. But it also has its own, like the shading and the slight differences to show accuracy. So everybody, it's something most people can enjoy, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's also really sticks out. Like the hatching definitely is his signature, as his signatures in the hatching, which I thought was interesting. Like when you first mentioned it, and you said, like, oh, it's hatching his signature. I was like, yeah, it's definitely how I recognize it. Oh no, it's literally
even
signature.
metaphorically,
It is literally his signature.
yeah, metaphorically, it was technically kind of like his signature style hatching that only he used, and now, like, literally, it has his signature.
Yeah, I took it the other way at first, the metaphorical way.
It works in both.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about Mystic Alpha is it almost looks like show style enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, it sticks very close to it, but there's just something like extra about it, you know? So people have that relatability.
There's also, I mean, he does change it up a little bit. Like there's more creases, like hard creases, whereas the show tends to be a little bit softer, like especially in the jawline. And that kind of gives him a unique style too.
Yeah, it's much more illustrated.
Yeah.
It's like Ponies HD.
Yeah.
If ponies were in SD.
Has better definition than real life.
Yeah.
Better definition. So much definition.
All the depth.
All right,
right.
let's define our way to the next piece of art.
All right, so our next piece is called The Wrong Crowd for a Celebration by Harwick's Art.
I know what you're talking about, Ted. We're always prepared for every single episode.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's what with the Howard.
Had these on
and,
layaway.
you know.
Except for Mauer.
God, I have to deal with so much stuff with Howard.
He's got great hair, though. Fantastic hair. Oh, man. So, yeah. Speaking of great hair, Harwick's Art.
Oh man,
I have
Harwick's
no
Art.
idea what your hair looks like, but I'm sure it's great.
I
I'm
mean,
sure it's
look at
fantastic.
Pinky's hair in this piece first
Oh, wow.
of all, because that is amazing.
I actually planned on bringing that
That's
up.
what I thought you were gonna. That's what I thought you were gonna go with. You're like, speaking of hair, look at Harwick's out or how he illustrates hair.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
I don't know with that.
Yeah. No, he does. Well, Harwick is again kind of like I like to look at him again as a version of show style enhanced, and I think he's got kind of commonalities a little bit with Mystic Alpha, but he definitely starts straying a little bit farther away. And I think where he starts straying is when he starts adding in extra details that the show really doesn't cover at all. And I mean, the hair is a great example of that.
Yeah, he definitely has a very amazing and unique shading style, which kind of gives his ponies and characters and the whole setting depth. It's like, it's kind of almost it's a very hard, soft shading.
Yeah,
I guess.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you're getting.
But it's like, it makes the ponies and everything look very 3D. Almost, and in this piece specifically, it almost looks like an old faux 3D video game, for instance. Like especially with the background and like the door and Trixie and stuff. So
I think that's
It's kind of like as close. No, you go. I insist.
What?
Go ahead.
All right. I was just elaborating on that kind of 3D sense you were talking about. Like that's the most distinctive thing of Harwick's art for me is how everything is an intense, like actual like 3D, like rounded. All the ponies are always in full 3D. There's no like kind of illustration or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like they're really everything's really cartoony, but it's an extremely 3D cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really tell that on the shading that you pointed out. There's how I like to, I guess, say it is that there's a stark contrast in between the lights and the darks and how he shades his character. So also extremely in rarity, obviously, and then a little more subtle in the characters as they get farther away because like rarity's closer to the light.
Right.
I find it sticks out a lot to me in Rainbow Dash on her bottom legs, her back legs, where it's light towards the fire and then it's like pretty much completely black on the other side.
Yeah, and she's also a darker color too. So I mean, when we're looking at Fluttershy, Rarity, and Applejack, those three are very close to the fire's actual color.
Yeah.
But then you hit Rainbow Dash, and she's the opposite. She's blue. So
Yeah.
He does very well in her hair though. I like Rainbow Dash's hair.
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like ponies.
I find sometimes, and I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way, but I like a lot of the characters' hair in the show pretty equally. I find they all have their own little intricacies, but sometimes I find when it gets more detailed, Twilight's hair gets more boring to me because I find when they're all on an even playing field in the show, they're like I said, they're all on an even playing field, but then when you start adding detail, I think people like when you start adding detail to like Rarity and Rainbow Dash's hair and like Pinkie Pie especially, you know,
sure.
there's so
especially.
many more details you can add. And with Twilight, it's like, I guess just add more hair in the same shape.
Man, hi Twilight, your hair is boring.
Yeah.
Jeez,
It's just, it's
Yeah.
safe. Her
Yeah.
hair is very safe.
Yeah.
Same with apple horses.
Yeah. But like some of the best pieces that I find of Twilight are the ones where like she's in like an action pose and detailed, because then her hair's doing something a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's like lifted in a way.
Whoosh.
Yeah.
It does
And then
whoosh.
there's also the her different hairstyles for like the wedding and like stuff like that. So
Right.
she has a little bit of leeway, but not really that.
A slight curve on the end of the tips.
And there was
Yeah.
that one or two
Mhm.
people that did the windy hair Twilight from the season 3 opener. There was a couple of people that did that, one or two.
Yeah,
Everyone in the fandom.
but it stayed in the same shape. But yeah,
Yeah.
all the vector artists.
Whoa, you trying to make a social commentary there?
To be fair, that scene really did stand out. It was just like, whoa, look at that hair.
It stood out until it became numb in my brain.
Yeah, well, it was sort of when they changed animation styles quite dramatically for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just looking through who's in this crowd, and there's a lot of villains in here. Like you got Awazodal, Trixie, the Diamond Dogs, whatever.
I love how the
It's-
cat's there.
Yeah.
I love that cat.
Hence the title.
Yeah. It's an
Yeah,
interesting
it's really
scene.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, not even talking about the scene itself, but like, think about the colors that are being used in this scene as well.
Mhm.
I mean, the entire tavern is kind of this bluey purple. The doors open; it's purple outside. You've got a lot of these characters that are even you know, even the character like the Diamond Dog with the red coat. That red, very purple.
Yeah.
You know. But when you look at the characters, they're by the fire. They're orange. They're very bright and warm.
They're warm
Yeah.
and the villains are cold.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's interesting to see that contrast, and it's not suddenly sharp. It's not like half the piece is purple and the other half is orange. It's just he chose to put highlights on the characters of orange. Like for example, look at Pinkie Pie. She's very orange and warm and vibrant, but right behind her is Gilda, and
Mhm.
she's very cold.
Yeah.
Well, that and it's a warm light from the fireplace too, so it's casting everything, and we're relating the warm light of the fire with like the characters that they're hitting. So the other things that are actually in the background, the fact that they aren't the same kind of warm light as the fire makes us see them as like in the background. So
Yeah.
if they were lit and they were warm, then we totally see them as like on the same plane as the ponies and actually closer and by the fire. The fact that they aren't makes them like far away from the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's definitely a conscious decision to place the ponies like close to the fire and everyone else far away, so that like it feels natural that, you know, they would be this colder blue purple light, whereas the ponies are this warm light from the fire. So amazing job with that, Harwicks. Would this classify as like hyper 3D possibly?
I think it's a fun mesh of the two. I was gonna mention that earlier. This is like 3D cartoon style, perfect
Yeah.
mesh. Like
Yeah.
one more step into the 3D, and they would have real horse faces, and it would be creepy.
Uncanny horse valley
Like
there.
this is
Well,
the
I mean-
happiest medium of 3D for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful to keep kind of the cartoony style in there, or else you do just get horse faces. So,
Well, it's just because like Harwicks is one of the artists that like he uses this like really deep shading in the and kind of the contrast between the lights and the darks is very broad. So that's why it kind of like pops out at you more, I think. So
Yeah.
it's
I was going to mention that the way he does his lighting like that, where it's really, really bright and really, really dark, like really close together. There's no sort of gradient towards it.
yeah. Like if you look at, for instance, Rainbow Dash's wings or whatever, like the accents on the wings are this really vibrant yellow color, and like the shadow, which is really just an outline, is kind of this really dark color, so it kind of pops out at you a bit more.
Yeah, that and he puts a lot of detail into the shadows and where he incorporates them. Like a great example is Rainbow Dash's leg, and then every single pony's muzzle. If you look at their nose, like Fluttershy's nose and Applejack's face really stand out to me.
Mm-hmm.
That and there's just shading on like even like Rainbow Dash laughing, like all like the shading on the other side of her nose and then on the side of her nose and all the highlights on the pony's faces.
Yeah.
There's so much care put into highlight versus cut, like shade versus detail.
Yeah. Also, go on.
Fluttershy bunny
Also.
suit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's adorable. That's her mission suit.
They're all
they're on some kind of journey.
they're all in kind of like
Yeah.
because they're like that's the narrative, you know, wrong crowd for a celebration. They're on this journey and then they walk into like a villain tavern. I mean, Twilight's got like her Star Swirl bearded cape going on, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just like the capes. I was like, oh, maybe they're on a journey, but this one is just like bunny suit.
That's a dangerous,
Fluttershy and a bunny
that's a
suit.
dangerous
Yeah, that's
mission.
a
That's
dangerous
her
mission,
danger
yeah.
suit,
Yeah.
man. Danger close.
Yeah.
I would, I'm not usually one to have reoccurring jokes, like I'm not terribly entranced with a lot of the characters that come back and forth between MLP, like the minor characters, but gosh dang, do I want to see another Fluttershy bunny suit episode.
Yes.
It was just too cute.
Yes.
Like I look at this and I'm like, that's kind of out of place, but man, do I love it.
So adorable. Especially
I'll
with the
make
flower.
you the perfect disguise.
Yeah. Also, Rarity would be the only one drinking wine in a tavern.
She's just classy like that, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, there's wine up there. I was
There's
like,
wine,
what?
yeah. Everyone else has the cider.
And Pinky has a bubble stash and bubble chest hair.
Or soap.
Or soap.
It looks like soap.
Or so. Maybe that's why Rainbow Dash is laughing so much. April Fools and soap.
Pinky don't care.
All right, so
Delicious.
we do have to move on to our next piece. Harwick's amazing job. Thank you for this piece of art.
We love you.
So our next piece is called Celestia's Apprentice by the Wizard of Art, who has this fantastic style. And we've been wanting to feature something by the Wizard of Art, and this gives us an
We will
opportunity
be
to.
more and more as we go along.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I think last time I was on, he was on too.
oh yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
remember
He's
the
the best.
piece. Oh, I think it was a Christmas one or something. I
Maybe.
don't know.
probably.
But it's always
Yes,
welcome
you're right.
because his art is really, really nice.
Absolutely. I mean,
Texture, the white highlights, I love it all.
Look at how individual Twilight's hair is.
this one is an absolutely fantastic example of what can be done with watercolor. This is watercolor,
Yeah.
which is incredible to me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's Wizard of Art's really big specialty. I find is kind of taking watercolor to the next level,
Yeah.
and defying people's expectations with watercolor.
Oh yeah, like to get this level of sharpness and detail with watercolor is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I wonder if the line work is done also in watercolor, if that's done like in a pen before
I
the watercolor. Or...
I think it's probably pen or pencil or even black
Yeah.
crayon. And then because there's a lot of white crayon used in here with the bubbles and the water around.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
It's probably I would assume that things like the ponies and like especially the outlines in Twilight or stuff are all like either pen work or done beforehand,
Mhm.
and then it's shaded then afterhand.
Yeah.
I would say it's done beforehand.
Huh.
This
So
one,
this-
one I love because of it. Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
Sorry, I was going to say that this is based on the scene from the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Disney's Fantasia.
That's
which,
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Totally stole that from you. Which it's a very, very famous scene
Mhm.
of yeah.
Where Mickey is got the brooms and cuts them up, and then there's millions of other brooms, and then a whole lot of water
Yeah.
happens.
Yep.
I wonder if that's still shown to kids nowadays.
I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't know. It should be.
Yeah.
I'll
I
show it
think
to
my
my kids.
grandmother has it on
Elementary school
VHS.
music class.
Have you shown them to your Alaskan children, Vern?
Yeah,
No, they got eaten. Remember?
Oh.
It's a sad story.
right,
Don't bring it up.
right.
Let's not go
Sorry.
into it right now. It's too sad.
Lovely.
It's very, very painful memories.
I'm glad that that's canon now.
I have I bought a commission while I was at Evergreen Northwest, or I bought an original painting of someone who also made a Fantasia thing. That was cool.
Oh, that's cool. Do you remember who it was? Or
I can't, unfortunately. You'll have to ask Danny. She hasn't.
I will have to ask her then at some point later. But anyhow, this piece of art is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it is full watercolor. It's done on a 140-pound cold pressed paper. So like we've said with watercolors in the past, is you have special paper that can absorb the water at various levels. So like I'm assuming that since this is a very detailed and precise work, that the 140-pound cold pressed paper is probably very absorbent. or he used
140 pound is ridiculous.
Like
Yeah.
a sponge.
And it's interesting because there is a little bit of like watercolor runniness in, for instance, the floor in the background, and also in like the water drippings in Twilight's mane and tail and stuff. So you can definitely tell that it is watercolor because you have those attributes to it. But it's the rest of it is very precisely done. There's like the mixing of colors and stuff like that is very well done.
Definitely tell in the books and the shelves in the background, but I don't feel like it takes away from it. I feel like it makes the characters contrast even more, like the detail from the more simplistic background, and I think it just works out really well.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that we've talked about a few times. That having less detail in the background and more detail on whatever character or whatever is in front really makes them pop.
Yeah.
Like you've got the really, really simple books and shelves and stuff in the background, and you go look straight down to Celestia's crown and her hair, which is rather detailed, and that makes it stand out.
Yeah.
Especially Twilight.
Yeah. Especially Twilight with that expression on her face.
Look at her face!
Yeah.
I've been holding it in this entire time because I'm like, no, we should be educational. We should be talking about watercolor. Look at her face!
That face is so adorable.
I'm dead. I died.
Oh.
You're gonna move on without me. I can't.
It's okay, guys. That's his April Fool's joke.
No. I didn't die though. It was just a joke.
Actually died.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys know me. Like, faces are my everything when it comes to art pieces, and it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, so cute.
I know.
can't even. I'm done. I can't.
How
Let's-
can
please- just go.
Celestia say no to that face? Like, seriously.
It's impossible. It's impossible. That's why this is a work of fiction. That is the
She's
only
like-
reason why this is a work of fiction.
Do you see how she's floating that broom? She's just going to whack with it.
Burned with the child abuse joke. Fantastic. All right. Well, you snapped
It's
me right
apprentice.
out of my adorable face stupor. So I guess that
Discipline is an important practice.
Okay. Well, we're gonna just. So anything else? Does anybody please have something
Nope,
to say?
can't top that. I think we should stop right there.
That's better.
I just wanted to once again say how amazing the watercolor work is in this, because it's impossible
Yeah.
to get this level of detail.
Yeah, this is really
it really
fantastic.
is.
Expert control.
I really want to like hang the original on my wall. Like, there's something about his pieces, and maybe it's just because watercolor is more of a traditional medium, but there's just something about his pieces that, like, I want that piece on my wall. I would buy his original for
Yeah.
sure.
I have a watercolor done by Blixit of Twilight and Rainbow Dash, and it's fantastic. It's a print, obviously, of it. And we've seen the original because it's in the Traveling Pony Museum. But like with watercolors, having the original is just like so worth it. Like,
Yeah, man. Imagine how good this looks as an original.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's
I
crazy.
really
It's
want to see it.
nuts.
yeah,
It's nuts because to people who haven't seen things like, for example, I think Burned, Flutter Guy, and myself, we all have paintings, right?
yeah. From Cosmic Unicorn, yes.
Right. So like I'm looking at mine right now, my Rainbow Dash Sky one, and it's just like there's no way to describe how much better it looks in person.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at something like this digitally, I can't imagine how awesome this looks in person.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never actually seen a painting before, not once. That's a straight lie.
April Fool's.
Yeah,
April
gotcha. But Trigion had a lot of really, really nice originals, and Traveling Pony Museum had some too. I saw a bunch at BronyCon. But if I was ever going to buy an original, Sarah Richard, makes all the covers for the comics for people who don't know, and she after the they're actually out on the alt comics, you could buy the original acrylic paintings. They're only kind of expensive, but they're too expensive for me. But man, do I want one.
Yeah.
See, Mahower has this little crush on Sarah Richard.
I wouldn't say
There's-
that. A crush on her art. I've never met the woman.
crush on the art. No, but that's totally fine because I have a crush on Gray Stripe's art.
Yeah.
So the only difference is I've met her and it makes it much more awkward. So just make sure that you never meet her. and it'll make things okay.
Wow, that's kind of.
No, because then it's awkward to be like, oh, I have a crush on your art. We did this joke on the podcast this one time. Oh man.
So Gray Stripe, if you're listening,
No, please God, stop.
See, it's
Stop.
too late because Sarah Richards is at the Comic-Con that I'm at right now, and I'm totally gonna go over to her booth tomorrow and be like, "Hey, guess what? Guess what joke we made on our podcast?"
just take Mahauer's art, or not his art. Wow. Take Mahauer's audio track with you tomorrow, and just be like, "We were recording
Should
this
print out a
yesterday."
picture
I
of
don't
Mahauer
even-
and like sign it with a heart and give it
You
to her.
put these words in my mouth. I was never like, oh, I have such a crush on Sarah Richard. You were just like, Mahauer.
It's recorded.
No, it's
recorded. He just said it.
The blackmail.
Oh man. All right.
All right, so we do have to move on to our last piece, which is called Origin by Assassin Monkey.
Hey, AM.
Yes, Assassin Monkey, hi. We know you're in the chat because you're always there. You're amazing.
We love you.
This one I find has probably got the other ones that we have little stories maybe underlining them where they're describing a situation. This one's cooler because it kind of leaves the emotional impact up to the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of presents you with a scenario and goes, like, what do you think of it? And it's how your brain interprets it that kind of gives it its meaning. But for the most part, based on the colors and based on the situation,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be, kind of, it's like a sad
Yeah,
feeling.
Yeah.
those cool colors and blues are always kind of like that, more sad, melancholy.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not a warm
Tones.
color in this piece. I guess
Yeah.
you could count the sand as being kind of yellowish, but
That's
Yeah, but it's definitely not
It's
warm,
more blue.
super muted.
because temperature is dictated by things also around a color. So the fact of like what it's being surrounded by, even like if that yellow by itself, maybe, probably not, but
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
the fact that it's precipitating, like,
A rain of sorts.
okay, yeah, I know what that word means. I had to think about that.
Excellent use of the word precipitation.
Assassin Monkey did a great job because, like, this piece it's supposed to be sad. It's dictated that it's kind of a sad piece and whatnot, and like the combination of the colors and the setting and the rain and everything like that just kind of adds to it. It's like when you're having a bad day and you're like really, really sad and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it starts raining and you're just like, oh man, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of like, of course it will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when stuff's left up to the viewers for interpretation because everybody has such a different interpretation of it. But there's so many little like implied things here that I really like. So, I mean, like, I'm not going to say them all because then they're not implied anymore and they're explicit.
Yeah.
But here's a great one. So the right hand, the right claw, which would be on our left when we're viewing the piece, it's digging into the sand,
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? What does that imply? That
Yeah.
sounds sarcastic and it sounds like I'm being over the top, but like I legitimately love to hear what people like to interpret what that is, what the scenario might have been, how did it lead to that point?
It looks like there was a rock slide or something.
Yeah.
How long
Yeah.
has it been?
To me,
Yeah.
what it looks like is it was a big dragon who was fighting or something happened, and then the side of the mountain collapsed on it, killed the dragon, and he's trying to like claw his way out, and that's why there are grooves in the rock there.
Yeah, not instantly.
So sad.
Yep.
It's really cool the way that Assassin Monkey has done this pooling of water too, because like in all the claw marks, like the claws go deeper. Like that's what you see there from the last joint is definitely not the end, just based on anatomy of everything. Like the claws go deeper into the ground, but you got this pooling of water that kind of distorts your view of the rest of it, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, right? In order for something to skeletalize, in order for something to get to the point where it's a skeleton, it needs to be a long time. So these grooves that are dug into the ground are just as old as the skeleton, So they can't be. Sometimes people make that mistake where they have a situation like this and then they make the ground look like it's fresh.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that didn't happen because it's been years since this actually happened. So I almost, in a way, I would love to see a version of this piece in a happier setting where
It's springtime.
yeah, and there's like
flowers.
grass growing over some parts of it, like life is kind of retaking it a little bit.
Life is
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think that would be a really cool thing to see.
Be a nice
Yeah.
spin on
Because
it.
I like to see time in these pieces where time is implied. I like to see a little bit more explicit.
I demand a series.
I demand a time lapse from the day that this dragon died
Yeah.
all the way up to now, and all of
Please
the
draw
in-betweens.
375 pieces for one every year for hundreds of years from now.
Yeah.
With like a minimum of 100 pieces by next week.
Exactly.
So, a
An
question.
entire time lapse of this dilapidating.
You will be
Equestria-
graded on this. Isn't that what your art course is, Burton?
Equestria confirmed for 10 more days than Earth.
Yeah, 375. Why?
Yeah. My headcanon now.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
One thing that I absolutely love about Assassin's Monkey's work is just how kind of messy he makes it, and it's messy in all the right ways. Who is it? Husi also has a very messy medium, and also messy in the right ways. And it's like where detail is needed, obviously you have detail surrounding it and stuff like that. But like if you look at the rock slide and the ground and stuff like that, it's like splotches of color and like brush strokes and stuff like that. And you can very easily see the brush strokes, especially if you look over towards the right side of the piece. But if you look into the more detailed piece or parts of the piece, like the skull and stuff like that, it's like, you know, it's very detailed, very sharp.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to, because Ruin Plaza mentioned, like, he's leaving a lot for the viewer to interpret, and he's not just doing that with the narrative, he's also doing that with how he's detailed the actual image and, like, this, what he's painted. So, like, the right-hand side of the image is extremely, like, not detailed. It almost looks unfinished if you actually look directly at it. But the fact that it is that way makes us actually look at what is the focus, which is the extremely detailed skull. So we'll spend our time looking at all the detail and stuff in that skull, in the claw, and the digging in the ground. But we won't actually look at certain areas, like on the right-hand side. We don't care that they're not detailed. It doesn't matter that it's not detailed. It's better that way because it helps direct our focus and leaves it to our imagination yet again.
Yeah. And I think also the cool thing that it kind of does too is it makes it kind of look blurry, and I think that matches with the rain scene because it you know, it's like the lens is getting fogged up, or like someone's rubbed Vaseline on the lens or something. But yeah, it kind of gives it that sense of when you're taking a video in the rain, sometimes you can get that kind of foggy effect around, you know, the weather's affecting things.
That and like depth of field or area of focus, you know.
Yeah, that's true as well. So it kind of gives it a cinematic.
Yeah, you'd say that.
Yeah.
Cinematic kind of feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. Big time. The composition is kind of interesting too, in that like the scene is offset to the left. And I'm not sure exactly what the composition is called, if it has a technical term or whatever, but like there's this big chunk of like this unfinished or like undetailed rocks off to the right, and you don't pay attention to them because they are kind of unfinished and undetailed, but they do take up quite a bit of the piece. But it's just kind of like I don't know, it's just interesting in that like the focus is shifted to the left, and
a lot of times pieces are more interesting that way, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gives the piece kind of this interesting feel to it.
I have read or something somewhere that having the center of a piece or focusing somewhere that's not in the middle does make it more interesting and more likely to someone to like look at it for longer and to enjoy it more, because you're not just staring straight at this thing and like, hey, look, the focus is right in the middle, whatever. It's off to the side. It's a big thing in photography. Instead of having it right in the middle, you have it off to the side.
Yep.
Yeah, I you know, and none of us are researchers, and so we're not terribly versed in this. But perhaps one of the reasons for that might be, you know, when we talked about flat colors, we talked about the fact that flat colors are very often unappealing because real life is never like that. Even if you look at a blank wall, it's never perfectly flat. You know, there's always like tiny little texture to it, and in the same way, you know, very often in life, you're not always like something isn't always the center of your vision, you know, like there's always stuff off to the side. It's never like perfectly symmetrical, you know, and when it is, it's kind of strange. So perhaps in a way that kind of contributes here, where if it was perfectly in the center, it's kind of like, whoa, like it's, and also I think what it does as well is it lets you explore the piece a little bit further, because I think we naturally go to the center of a piece to look at the main focus, and then from there we go, all right, well, there's a lot of piece to the left, so we go to the left, and then we kind of drift back and forth, and I think it lends itself to a little bit more of eye drifting, and it makes you explore the piece a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I people who know me personally know that I come up with a lot of crazy theories that may or may not be right, but I makes sense to me, so therefore it's true.
Well, yeah, there's a whole big thing in like the film industry, like when you're composing shots and stuff like that, not to have everything centered because it makes it look weird and stuff, and it's a big part of art, is the whole composition of either an art piece or like a film or anything like that. Yeah. All right, so we are going to move on to the Cunas, I believe.
Okay.
Special Mahower Power Cunas today.
So these are all going to be answered by just Mahower.
just Mahower just gonna answer them. We're just going to take a break here, guys.
Yeah.
Our first question from everyone everywhere: why is Mahower so beautiful?
Some people are born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Have I ever told you I love you?
God, no, you are amazing.
Because I should tell you that more often. People ask, why do we have Mahower on the podcast? And my answer is, why
Who
not?
asks that? Who would say something like why?
Man. I ask myself occasionally, and then I slap myself and go, no.
People don't ask why we have you on. People ask why you're not on every episode.
A better question.
Then...
These are the questions.
All right, so
anyway, since we happen to have you along for the ride, you might as well answer these first to let you get them out of the way. So
I'll see what I can do. If it's like, what's your favorite classical artist? I'll be like, Burned.
What's your favorite pony?
Burn
I can handle
is a
that.
classical artist.
Yeah, Burned.
All right.
Anyways, let's hand it over to the QNAS master.
All right, first question I've got here is, what is your favorite medium of art? For example, paint, graphite, vector, raster, etc. Sent in by Kierid25, who's probably in the chat.
Hi,
Hi,
Kierid.
Kierid. I know Kierid. Me and him go
We
way
all know
back.
Kierid.
So popular.
I guess I could go first here too, but it's hard to pick a like I really like acrylic artwork. It really pops. I love that, but I'm a vector artist at heart, and so it's hard to pick a favorite. It really comes down to the artist. Like I almost always love seeing acrylic, especially if it's done right, which like I'm imagining it's hard. I don't know much about acrylic, I'm not gonna lie, but I do know a lot about vector artwork, so that's always really nice to see because I know what goes into it. And I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say a favorite between the two, but one of those.
Cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that you're probably gonna enjoy Sophie Cabra's work most. Then
Who, me?
probably
You?
Yeah, you.
It's funny you'd say that because we were just
Oh,
talking
Ken
about
Cat,
how he
rather.
has a huge crush on Sarah Richards' work, and
Yeah,
she
and
actually
she
paints
does.
mostly in acrylic.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
He knows.
Of course he does.
Yeah. All right, I'll go next. I think if done right, watercolor is my favorite medium of art to look at. I am probably terrible at creating it, but that's because I haven't tried it yet. So, but I do enjoy watercolor.
I think I tried it in elementary school. It went poorly.
I
Yeah.
think everyone tried it in elementary school.
Favorite medium to paint with is finger paint now.
Favorite medium is crayon.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
The sponge paint.
Who's next?
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Mr. Flutterguy over here. I love watercolor art. As it's, I have had a little bit of experience with it. Like I own some watercolor stuff, pencils. I've experimented with quite a lot of actual different kinds of art and creative stuff. For creating, I like digital, like vectors, which is fun. If I was actually, good at making traditional art, I'd probably enjoy making watercolor or pencil sketches. But at the moment I'm not, so I'm going to go with I prefer looking at watercolor and I prefer making vector.
Interesting. Burned.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna go with paintings. I really, really like looking at paintings, and usually the more interesting ones I find are done in oil. Just recently, the ones I've been looking at. There's some really cool things. That and at this Comic-Con I've been on, oh my gosh, the graphite work. I didn't even know people could do that with pencil. Here, Jiminy Christmas. But I'll stick with oil.
Yeah. Graphite's interesting because it's like it's all black and white or
because it's a forgiving medium because you can erase it, right?
Yeah.
But it's also an extremely unforgiving medium because it's hard to do certain things or get certain details down to like such a fine point, and you're forced to paint on an extremely small scale.
Yeah.
So like when you do extremely large detailed things on like actual like print sizes and stuff, it ends up being ridiculous at how much time and effort is put into like said detail and like hatchwork and shading and
yeah.
ridiculous.
So what I've been doing while everyone else has been going through their stuff, I've been looking in my favorites folder just to kind of remind myself the kind of stuff I've been favoriting lately, and that's usually like what I've liked to see recently, of course, because that's why I'm favoring it. And I've realized that I just don't have a favorite medium. I just really don't. It's so hard to describe. Everything's on an individual basis, and I see it and I either go, oh, I like that, or I go, it's not really my thing, and that's really all I can say about it. It's just
that's pretty. Don't like that. That's pretty. No, I don't like that.
It's funny because we try to look through like our favorites folder sometimes to get inspiration for the show, and mine's the worst one to look through because I have like the weirdest tastes, most inconsistent, non-artistic tastes that are just like so not useful most of the time.
It's all Rainbow Dash.
That's not
It's
true,
always
actually.
been Rainbow Dash.
I know.
I've almost got as many pages of me as I do Rainbow Dash. But yeah, it's just on a case by case basis, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fine because we can still find inspiration in your favorites and stuff. I mean, it's better than going and looking through someone like, I don't know, Assassin Monkey's favorites. You know?
Yeah.
Cough.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like that, there's every medium has like its strengths and its weaknesses, and if done right, every medium is like amazing and shines really well. And it's like, and when you start like looking at art like what we do, you can kind of pick up on these things that like artists do really well in the medium that they chose. So, yeah. Great question. Thanks, Kieran.
All right, so second question I've got here is, do you prefer any traditional medium over digital mediums? If so, which ones? And I'm going to say why. Sent in by Bronrig, which is, I mean, this does relate back to our previous question, which is kind of why I picked it. And now over to Rainbow Plasma.
I'm just going to say, because we're a little bit short on time here, I'm going to modify this question a little bit because we can't go talking about what mediums we prefer over other ones, we can't start making a favorites list here.
Yeah, again.
So what I'm going to say is, if you had to have the horrible choice of picking either traditional or digital mediums, then which one would you think that you'd prefer? So why don't we start with our guest Mahower? So which would you prefer, traditional or digital?
It's kind of hard to say. Like, I don't aesthetically, it's not a huge deal to me. Like, just like you said, I was just going through my favorites list. It seems it doesn't really matter what medium things are made in, just the outcome, how much color. Like, I don't know. Apparently, I really like splashes of color, vivid color. But
You're a splashy man.
if I had to pick, maybe traditional, because if it's something tangible you can put up on your wall, it's kind of really cool, like we were talking about earlier. And that's like the only advantage I would say traditional has on digital, but digital can accomplish a lot of the things that traditional artworks can, using little tricks and stuff, little fake textures and whatnot. So
I totally get what he's saying.
it's sometimes almost the same, but
yeah. Nice.
So boom, answered.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Like digital works can mimic traditional in any kind of medium, really. And in some aspects, digital can push the limits because you can do a little bit more without having the fear of messing up. But like, as far as actually looking at a piece, like traditional, it's so good.
Yep.
I don't know why. It's yeah. Yeah.
No. I'm a big fan of traditional, man. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can mimic it in digital, but it's not the same. It's like, why would you try to mimic traditional with digital when you can just paint digital? Just like paint in your medium and love your medium and paint digitally if that's what you choose to do. But I'm a really big fan of traditional stuff, like a lot of paintings and whatnot, just like blow my mind. And I really like sketches and like things done by the hand. It's like you can sketch on like a digital computer screen, but I don't know, it's kind of not the same for me. Sometimes just like hand done sketches are kind of special.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I've seen like sketching robots that like it's not like a printer where you would print out the actual picture, but it like holds a pen or a pencil, and you give it like a CNC program or whatever, and it'll draw out the basically the
Printing art, one moment please.
Yeah, if you called printers sketching robots, legitimately, I would have never let that go. Oh, these fancy sketching robots.
Guys, we need an ink distributor.
Atmospark, how about you?
I can't really pick between them. Like, they both have their fantastic benefits over the other. Like, they both have pros and cons, and I think I might have said everything I needed to in the last one accidentally.
Oh, okay, that's fine. No, it doesn't have to be a long answer.
That was my short answer for a short question.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
There you go. So you can't choose. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm saying digital. And you know why? Because all of you have been comparing digital that's trying to be traditional with traditional.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you're going to compare like on the basis of traditional, then of course the original is going to be better. But I'm going to say digital because of the versatility that I've found in digital arts. And there's a lot of different styles out there for traditional, but there's just some amazing things, and the number of styles, the number of kind of just there's just so much to do with digital, and it's endless, and the number of effects and crazy stuff that people have done. You know, maybe at the end of the day, when you're looking at these like detailed traditional things, there is something special about them. There's something that it's ingrained within us. But man, is there something special with the variety of crazy stuff that digital can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer. I'm going to pick digital just because all y'all did pick digital.
Because forget all of you.
And it's also nice because digital opens up new avenues for artists, and like a lot of people who wouldn't have normally done art are doing art because they can through digital means, and you know, doing fantastic art. And like, I'm not saying that traditional or digital is worse than traditional, because you're right. Like, if you don't compare the two, like digital has a lot of really good things going for it and stuff. So yeah.
All right. Well, that was all of your answers for those questions. So let's quickly go on to plugs. Mahower.
You always do this to me.
It's not fair. I have no idea what you're talking about. Come on, you can do it. You don't even have to list them out properly.
I
Just
won't
what do
even.
we have?
All right, you can go to our DeviantArt. It's at Mahower. It's at
whoa.
Cutie Art Crusaders or something similar. And then there's a Gmail, there's a YouTube channel, and there's a Twitter. And did I get them all?
One more.
Facebook. Yep.
Yeah.
Just came to me.
Yeah.
You can hit us up on Oculus Rift.
Oh, sad day.
Now in 3D.
Sad day.
Topical joke.
Hit us up on our Steam group.
Oh, we should create now.
Man.
It'll all just be me with
anyways.
Kerbal Space Program.
Anyways, you guys know the plugs. It's on the screen. Speaking of the email, again, we got a couple of things to email. You guys have already heard them, so send in those emails for both our crap episode and for episode 100. We will be reminding you continually, so if you forget this week, it's okay. We'll tell you again next week.
Yep.
Speaking of next week.
So we have a theme, and it's right here, and it's unfortunately not Mahower again.
It's messed up.
Yeah, I know.
Man,
But,
I was so pumped when I got that commission too. That was great.
No, you know what? No, we have to. I mean, this is what we do. If something gets ruined, we throw it out and we destroy all the evidence.
Yeah.
That's the Cutie Art Crusader way.
So Burn,
Damn, what a big waste of money. I was all pumped.
Is it? I have not seen this commission yet. I'm pretty sure it does exist. Is it Andy Price or is it Sarah Richard? Because I don't know anymore.
Did you
Okay,
not
wait.
see the thing I linked in the Skype document
Did you not
earlier?
see he linked it earlier?
He
No?
linked it. It's by
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Is it
God.
gone?
That's so much
No,
better.
it's in Skype.
No,
Oh my god.
What?
I'll link it again.
you are the biggest
Oh my
dirt
God.
face of all time.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Can we take this moment to talk about how awesome this commission is?
Yeah.
I love it.
Like,
Okay.
I asked Andy Price for this at the Comic-Con, and he's like, and I was like, can you make a commission for me of Pinkie Pie going, what the heck is a Mahower?
That's so
and he's
good.
like, excuse me, a what? What'd you just say? A what again? And he like didn't know what I was actually saying. I was like, here, I'll write it for you. He's like, what the heck is this? And then so he sketched an angry Pinkie Pie,
so
just like
good.
Mahooer, Mahower.
Oh my god.
And he was like joking with me about this name. He's like, some people in their online names, like some people who tweet at me, is like, what are you doing? He's so
Oh my God,
good.
that's so
Fantastic.
Yeah, Andy Price likes your name, by the way.
I can
Supposedly.
tell.
Yeah.
Moohauer, Mahager. I love it. I've gotten both of those before.
Yeah. Andy Price is a really awesome guy. It was a pleasure to meet him here.
Yeah, so thank you, Andy Price, for that lovely commission, and I'm sure Mahower will be thanking you. I can't believe that you didn't see that in this.
You snuck it in, man. I was doing stuff. I don't know.
I wanted to show you, I was all excited, and then we just kind of skipped over it, and I was like, oh, I was all sad about it.
Do you think I just I ignored it? Like,
All right. Well, despite Mahower's complete Skype chat ineptitude,
And
we did
his-
eventually manage to get it to him. So
Yeah.
that means that we will have to start closing down this episode
Feels good, man.
right about now. So first of all, thanks for Mahower for coming on such short notice. I know
For-
he's
no problem.
ruined everything.
bursting into the chat, and
I mean, like, I know he's ruined everything, but I mean, it's not. What can you do? It was just so. It was not planned at all. And I mean, like, what are we supposed to do about that? There's nothing we can do.
I thought you guys could handle it. I'm sorry. Too much
But
faith. Too much
But
faith.
we're not you, Mahower.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness
Oh,
that
thank
that whenever. No, I didn't mean it like that.
Well, I was like, whoa.
No, I was gonna say, thank goodness that Mahower just turns on his audio recording every single time he talks to us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just luck.
It's coincidence.
Gotta be
Just
right.
just in case he happens to walk in on a
Oh,
call.
the CFC are in a call. I'm just gonna pop in with my audio on.
I wonder how long we can keep this joke going.
All right, guys. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys for watching. Whether or not you guys are on the live stream or on YouTube, we love you all the same. Be sure to check out our spoiler cast right after this. And that's everything for this week. So my name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Flutterguy317.
Atmospark.
Mahower.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Hello, and welcome to the 19th spoiler cast done by the Cutie Art Crusaders for Season 4 of My Little Pony. My name is Flutterguy317, and today I am joined by Rainbow Plasma,
Hello.
Burndo1,
Hello.
and Mahower.
I'm still here.
Yay!
Yay!
We're
Power.
missing Atmospark because he had to run out, unfortunately.
He always has to run somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's like early for him because he's in Australia on the other side of the world.
I guess so. That's true.
Anyhow, so in this spoilercast, we will be going over MLP Season 4, Episode 20, Leap of Faith, which is a very Apple family-oriented episode, and also Applejack's Key episode.
So there's been like an abundance of apples this season, right? No one, I'm not the only one who's noticed that suddenly like everything is apple oriented.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of Apple family this
Especially
so
like
much.
every
I
time
mean-
it's an Applejack episode, it's a whole family episode.
Yeah,
I guess, but like there's just been so many Applejack episodes.
I know, it's fantastic.
I guess because Applejack, I mean there is the whole thing with Rarity and Sweetie Belle, but I think we see more interaction between Applejack and Apple Bloom than we do between Rarity and Sweetie Belle. So because in a lot of ways Applejack is like the protective mother of the
Yeah.
entire CMC.
Yeah,
That's true.
Well, and I don't know if we ever gotten confirmation that Sweetie Belle actually lives with Rarity like full time? Because like,
I'm so
Yeah, I don't
confused
think
about
she
that
does.
situation.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she does.
Whereas like, the Apple family lives all together and stuff. So
Like,
I don't
obviously,
know.
Rarity has like a guest room or something, like a suite, like wherever Sweetie Belle can sleep.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's her like actual. I think you're right. I don't think they live together.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause
Anyways.
in the one episode it was like, oh, look, she's staying with you for a week. And then the next episode, it was like, her school bag was in the house. Like, why are you staying at your sister's house? And then she has permission for them to go to the clubhouse together over or to some house. I don't know. It's weird. It's like mixed together.
She probably babysits
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
yeah,
oh, yeah, it's
probably.
fair.
And I mean,
And also, the school is probably closer to Rarity's boutique.
yeah. Well, I'm sure like Sweetie Belle's or like their parents probably live in Ponyville or whatever. But anyhow.
This is why people leave out detail. This is why writers leave out details. People are like, we want more details. That's not fun that way. It's
yeah,
more
yeah.
fun
no,
to speculate.
we get to talk about it. So anyhow, this episode was the return of the Flim Flam brothers, and their magical cure-all tonic that they tried to sell to the ponies of Ponyville to kind of
successfully.
cure their to cure all of their ailments.
Love it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of a trope that has been done several times, but like, you know, it's always fantastic.
It's nice to see it in pony form.
Yeah.
So I like the Flim Flam brothers like as villains because I mean obviously this fits them perfectly.
Yeah.
They
I
always
think they
just make
actually
a lot
did a
of
really
money
good
and
job
leave.
of making it like a little bit like not the norm. You know, I wouldn't exactly call this super tropey because I think
Yeah.
that they did some extra stuff that I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah.
I mentioned to Flutter Guy when we watched it together. I said, you know, the first half of this episode was meh, but they really made up for it in the second half. I found, you know, the second that we started talking to the Flim Flam brothers and the Flim Flam brothers came out and was just like, yep, no, it's totally a fake. Like they all but said it was a fake. It's like, but how are you going to deal with that? Then I was like, ooh, there's the writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually liked the first half of the episode better than the second half. The second half almost felt, I don't know, the interactions of the characters felt awkward to me, but the whole interaction with them as villains and like setup of the plot and like old-fashioned trope, and even them like specifically telling Applejack is almost like a snake kind of thing. Like, yes, like it may hypothetically be fake, but it makes your grandmother happy, so
Yeah. ...
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it? Yeah.
because it was actually kind of a slightly different way of approaching the old school scenario of, you know, just obviously this is like them making this illusion. Like obviously they made it so Applejack knew that this was an illusion, but it's like, and it's bad because
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think they really did the whole like honesty key thing like really well.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not the easiest thing to do. Honesty is one of those elements that is you don't know what you got till it's gone. You know,
Yeah.
we talk about Applejack and how there's tons of times where she's not honest, and it's because they have to show that, otherwise you'd forget that she's honest all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like any episode with Applejack, like, is going to be focusing on, well, not necessarily focusing on her element, but, like, that's the thing, like, with her being honesty, it's so hard to kind of focus on honesty without, like, showing the opposite. And you and I talked about this. It's like with honesty and also with loyalty, kind of those two are the tougher elements to represent without having to kind of flip it.
Yeah, you have to like show the bad side first with kindness, with generosity, you know, with laughter. It's easier to show the good side of it without having to show the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But I find with loyalty and with honesty and stuff, it's not quite as easy to do that. So a lot of times they default to this position of, we'll just have them do the opposite.
Yeah, even in Twilight they did do that. I mean, she's kind of the smart one and the one that keeps them together and is the binding character, if you will. But I mean,
Right.
there's been episodes where she just goes bat crazy and
Oh, yeah.
Well,
goes
there's
wild.
all those episodes for every single element. I
Yeah.
find I just find it's a little bit harder to get the non-crazy episodes with loyalty and honesty.
But it's relatable, you know, because we can all,
It's
like,
true.
we all like to be
Yeah.
good people or nice, and, like, a lot of us will step out of that and, like, we'll be rude to someone or be mean to someone. We catch ourselves or whatever. It's
Yeah.
a relatable thing to not be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So there's a song in this episode, which is very, very reminiscent of the first Flim Flam song. But they basically sing about their tonic. and there's points when the crowd is chanting like tonic,
Yeah,
like
love it.
cider.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I really like that old, like, kind of like, is it show tuning or what would you call that? Because, I mean, there's like the old, what is it, Troubled River City that they were tossing back to with the cider thing. Like, oh, we got trouble.
It's a vaudeville kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a terribly big fan of the style, but
I love
Well,
that.
no, but it fits the theme. It's kind of like a circus act kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not
I
gonna
really
like,
liked
listen to
in
it.
the
but-
yeah, I really liked in the beginning where they had like the circus music kind of playing in the background and like attracted them to that. Like that, I really liked that lead up, and then eventually like now they're doing their little circus or whatever song performance thing.
I think
cool.
they fit this role better than the. I mean, they're both traveling sales ponies, but this one seemed a little bit. I don't know. I like their role in this one better than I did the last time that they came around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nonpareil. Don't forget.
I love how the town's ponies or whatever are always like straight up almost zombies. Like I hear music, I'm going there. Tonic.
And they're all like in the opening scene where they're all like beat up and like have like crutches and they're like dilapidated and they're like and just like migrating to this sound, to this ominous noise. I was like, this is kind of creepy.
Music's the only thing I can enjoy now that all my legs are broken.
And then like the Apple Bloom and Granny Smith start walking, and Applejack and Big Mac are just like, oh, I don't know, man. This is creepy.
This is a bit strange.
Yeah.
I love Big Mac's reactions in these episodes because like he's very like obviously he doesn't talk much. He says yep and nope.
Yeah.
But like you can definitely tell the vibe that like he's putting off.
That
by,
Peter
like,
New voice acting.
Yeah.
How many times do you think they've had him in the studio this year?
Oh, like 500, definitely.
He's definitely
right.
like the intonation has been no pun intended new. Like those aren't just the same old recycled nopes.
Yeah, no, those are new notes.
Premium nopes right there.
No, but it's just like him being stoic enough, and like I don't know, it's a combination of the voice acting with what little they give him, and also with like the animation and like character placement and stuff. Like I don't know, it's there's a lot of like subtle intonation from him.
Well, I also like the fact that he was a supporting character to Applejack, right?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't just like, oh, you're just crazy, and like she's all by herself. Like there was like Big Mac was like, yeah, this is a bit strange, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there was kind of that kind of like, Apple Bloom and Granny Smith almost versus, even though it wasn't really a super big conflict.
Yeah.
It was she did have someone on her side, which is nice because sometimes it's kind of annoying to always see these ponies on their own.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I like supporting families.
I liked when Granny Smith was trying to bug him to go, like, let's go do some chores. Like, you want to go buck some apple trees?
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, he didn't even say no. He was just like, no. Like, I don't want to do
it's
that.
so real.
And, like, when he didn't say nope, I was like,
Yeah.
That was great.
So good. So Granny becomes like spry and, well, not really young, but spry.
Placebo effect.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yep.
If you don't know what the placebo effect is, Google it. I don't care enough to Google it myself.
I was actually waiting for them to drop that word the whole time. It's like, say
Yeah.
placebo. Catch the children.
You can do it.
I guess there's two different ways of saying that, right? Placebo and placebo.
Placebo?
I'm
what?
dumb.
Where are you from?
I'm dumb.
I mean, it
Never
could be
mind,
a
I'm just
Canadian
dumb.
showing, but
I've definitely made that mistake like 8 times in my life, and I still haven't learned. Never mind. It's placebo. You're absolutely right. The second I heard it right, I was like, "Oh no, I'm the idiot."
oh, I said that
Dude,
wrong.
there's
mind.
totally
Placebo.
two ways to say it. Don't second guess yourself.
Just gonna cry.
This reminds me of some Scrub reference. Or Scrubs, not Scrub. Like the show Scrubs? Or was
Yeah.
it Scrubs?
Scrubby
Scrubs.
Something?
It's Scrubs, yeah.
I forget what it was, but it was really funny. It's just like, I've heard it both ways.
Yeah,
You remember what I'm talking about?
I do. I've heard it both ways.
Oh no, that's a psych reference. He says
I don't
something
know
like
what the heck you're
horribly
talking
wrong.
about.
Man. Never mind. Move on.
I got you.
Thanks, Howard. Thanks.
God.
Don't worry, I'm here for you. I watch Psych.
I have no idea. But yeah, cool reference, bro.
References are off the charts.
Thanks, bro.
No, but so Applejack is I like Applejack. Obviously,
No.
everyone
I do.
knows that because she's like one of the more level-headed of the ponies, and she's like very skeptical when it comes to things like this tonic, this magical mystical tonic or whatever. And I don't know. I like being not like paranoid about things, but being skeptical about things that like seem too good to be true. So at least like she's kind of relatable to me in that aspect.
Yeah.
And especially like in this episode, like, you know, it's very easy to tell that something fishy is up, but like, you know, she kind of led the charge with Apple Bloom to go and figure out what's going on.
Well, again, like it's, you know, there are those episodes where these people go crazy, and they're great and all, right? I love them. You know, the Twilight, one of my favorite episodes is Lesson Zero, when Twilight goes absolutely nuts, and I want to see that again. But at the same time, it's kind of nice for them to step away from that formula a little bit and kind of experiment with like, you know, the conflict that she had in this episode was super mature for a conflict, you know? Like this is, again, we get back to this whole, this is a little girl show? Like, what? Like it was really a deep conflict, and it was super two-sided. And as I've talked about this entire season, I like these two-sided conflicts where there is no real right answer. We just have to kind of figure it out for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too because like Applejack is very family-oriented, and like the whole Apple family is obviously family-oriented. So it's interesting that that's how they presented the kind of the conflict is, you know, you have to choose between your family and the truth almost. And
yeah, and it gets to that aspect too. It's like, where does a white lie go too far? You know, that whole aspect, the whole aspect of white lies, you know, is very interesting because it's definitely a moral, like it's a weird moral middle ground.
Yeah,
it's a gray area for sure.
Yeah. So at the kind of initial act of like showing off the tonic, there's this pony that is part of the act that we find out later, who has crutches and supposedly gets healed by the tonic, but like doesn't actually need crutches because he's just an actor in the play. And he was kind of like Applejack's Coco Pamel.
What a strange character, huh?
I know.
Silver
So,
Shill.
like-
I loved his name.
Yeah, I know.
Corporate Shill.
He was
But,
a bit of a strange character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting though because like the two of the key episodes we've had something like that where we've had another character like who we've never seen before. Well, actually, and I guess
All of them.
in all of them.
It's
really.
about teaching their
but
element.
this one was similar to the Coco Pamela because it was someone who was on the quote unquote bad guy's side,
Yeah.
who saw the
Whereas,
error
like-
of their ways.
Yeah. Whereas like Cheese Sandwich was like, you know, not in direct opposition to Pinky. He was like, yeah,
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Nick, I do like the fact that they decided to do that, and it really made sense in this episode too. You know, seeing the hard decision, because Applejack did have to make a hard decision because she did say this lie, and maybe it wasn't as dramatic as she said it was. Like, oh, I hope you'll make it up to me. You know, like that was a bit dramatic. But at the same time, like she still had to make a hard decision and live with the consequences. And he looked at that and he said, you know what? That's really amazing that she would go out and do that and like live with these consequences. You know, and
Yeah.
he's like, you know what? I should learn from that. So it was a really nice way to teach that kind of lesson in a similar way to how Rarity taught Coco Pamel to be
You
generous.
should all be like Applejack.
I shouldn't lie.
Apples. Become one with the apple.
Yeah. Speaking of being like Applejack and apples, it's interesting how like Flim and Flam totally twisted Applejack's words, like because you know
Yeah.
that one, yeah, that one pony. I don't know the fandom name for her. But she was like asking Applejack if it worked, and Applejack didn't really want to tell the truth because it made Granny Smith confident, and it like, you know, it kind of boosted her ego a little bit. So she kind of was like, oh, well, it seems to work for Granny. And then all of a sudden, Flim and Flam are like, oh, it's Applejack approved. Like, ah. And then they've got like posters saying number 1 Applejack.
Those posters were super quick.
Yeah.
How'd you get my likeness? It's okay, there's people on DeviantArt who are vectoring you.
Yeah.
No, those were the Hasbro stock vectors. They had the pointy nose.
They were so stock, weren't they?
They were,
It's
yeah.
like it's like they're self-aware now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it when they do that, when they become self-aware.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Granny and Apple Bloom do this like little show thing in the water, which is interesting. It's also interesting, something that I picked up on is that Apple Bloom at the start of the episode is wearing these floaty things. And then at the end, when she's like doing her routine with Granny Smith, like she doesn't have them on. So I don't know if like she got more confident
she got, like,
in
taught by Granny Smith.
Yeah.
That's family bonding.
Dude, I missed that.
Yeah.
Actually, I like to think it was the tonic.
It was the tonic.
Wow. Well, there goes my moment.
Yeah.
This tonic really works. I can swim. Oh.
Yeah.
She just starts eating the water, apparently, according to Bird.
No. Yeah, so they do this like really fantastic routine, win the competition of whatever
Of champions.
it is that they're competing in. And then Granny Smith goes on to do this high dive thing, which is really,
That
really
pool of
bad
water
idea.
was so small.
Yeah.
I like a Flim and Flam, but like, yeah, she can totally do that. She can make that. Yeah, it'll be fine. When she does this, our ploy will totally still be in effect.
Yeah,
if
our
this
product
goes
will
wrong.
definitely not flounder.
And they were
if
just
she
like
dies.
super confident. Where it's like, yeah, if this doesn't go well, yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll let her do this.
The one thing that would have been interesting is before that actually happened, if they like tried to stop Granny or something, and then like
yeah.
after Applejack like actually stops her, then it's like, oh, you totally could have done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's a bit nitpicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think them
I think they
going
still make
like
it
them
push
going with the joke is better anyway. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
What a joke.
Yeah.
We tricked you all. Ha.
April Fools!
we have all your money.
I really
They
like
always do,
Didn't
man.
they get away too?
Yeah, dude, they just
Yeah,
shuffled
they
out the
did.
They
back.
have
I
all their
love it.
money.
Yeah.
how they just like fade into the crowd, whereas like when she's telling everyone that that's a fake, and they're just like,
It was like that Homer Simpson thing
Yeah,
where it's
exactly,
like he's like
sink into the
sliding back into
bushes.
the hedge.
Yeah.
they're just like, now's our time to go.
Yeah. That was fantastic. And I love how it just cut to them. It wasn't like part of like anything.
Yeah, she was still talking.
She was writing, yeah.
Yeah, it was so good.
Which, by the way, Applejack writing from that angle underneath the tree, so adorable.
Holy cow. Well, it's the whole without the hat thing.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
say,
It's like the let your hair down Applejack.
Yeah.
let your hat down.
That's her version of let your hair down is stop wearing the hat for 2 seconds.
Put your
Yeah.
hat down.
Take your hat off, you know. Anyhow, so Granny Smith gains this confidence and like doesn't have to rely on the tonic anymore, obviously because it was fake, and so she now is no longer afraid of the water, which is great for Apple Bloom and herself because they get to like hang out together and whatnot.
Yay. Family
Yay.
bonding.
Yay!
It's adorable.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good episode. I liked it.
yeah,
It's cute.
I did too.
I'm still opposing Burn. I think the first half was meh, and the
Oh,
second
no,
half.
I don't know, it was a nice
I think the
slice
second
of
half
life.
was meh, and the first half was
I don't
liked
know
it.
how we managed to
Yes.
disagree on everything except for our opinion of the episode in general, Burn, but we do it every time.
I know,
I
it's
like-
good. It's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good mechanic to always have opposing views.
Yeah.
But like we still, but the only thing we don't oppose is the fact that we usually like the episode.
Yeah.
How opposing can that be, though? Like,
It's two sides of the same coin.
speaking of coins,
Whoa.
Applejack's key is money.
Oh my god, I love your transitions.
Holla holla,
That was
get
amazing.
dollar.
I was like, how could you possibly transition that?
I was waiting.
Worth the wait.
It was impressive.
Yeah, holla, I agree. Holla holla, get dollar.
Yeah.
Applejack's thing is money. It's a bit strange. It's a bit strange, but I'll go with it.
Yeah,
A
I'll
lot
go
of
with it too.
money.
Ends up spending it on something they can never
Yeah,
open the
well,
box.
Yeah, I know, right?
I guess it didn't work, guys. We can't open the box. Yeah, we're all
Yeah.
screwed. That's
I
all.
had
So to
to.
find that 1 shilling.
I had to buy apple seeds to feed my family. So yeah. Anyhow, we got to wrap up because we're short on time. So I'd like to thank Mahower for joining us for the spoiler cast.
Anytime.
It was fantastic having you here.
Thanks,
And
man.
Here.
I think we all enjoyed this episode.
It was good.
And we'll see you guys next week for spoiler cast and for Cutie Art Crusaders. So
Okay.
my name is Flutterguy317.
I'm Rainbow Plasma.
My name's Bird.
I'm Mahooger.
We'll see you next
no,
week.
excuse me.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Anyhow.
So I guess we should really quickly before we start the episode just remind people about a couple things that are going on around the CAC. So first of all, we've got our 100th episode coming up, and just to remind people, that is the episode in which we want you guys to send in the answers to 2 questions. What are those 2 questions, Flutterguy?
The questions are, what have you learned from the podcast? And what did you enjoy, or what have you enjoyed from the podcast?
Yes. So what have you learned and what have you enjoyed? Send that into our email, cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com, and we will try to put that on the show for our 100th episode when we will be kind of discussing that and that topic and stuff like that.
You can
And
send
we
in,
also have...
You can send in text or audio.
Yes, text or audio, thank you.
Yeah.
We also have some stuff coming up really soon for Crab Battle. Burned, what can they send into our email?
If you can send into our email a piece of Crab Battle fan art that you have made. So just a picture that is a Crab Battle that you have made specifically for a special Crab Battle episode that's going on. More details in our DeviantArt journal.
Yes.
Should be in the description. And yeah, just send it into our email. And that's coming up in, a couple of weeks now, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, Crab Battle.
2
Crab
weeks.
Battle Part 3.
So remember,
Made by the
April-
fans for the fans.
April 11th is the last day that you can submit for that.
Yep.
So make sure to get on that. So those 2 things, submission, we got lots of submissions, we're relying on you guys, but I know you guys are awesome, so you guys will get to that. Speaking of getting to it,
Yes.
we should probably get to this episode.
Yes. So our theme for this week, we kind of thought long and hard since this is April 1st, April Fool's Day. So our theme for this week is Mahower. None other
Yes.
than Mahower, the lovely
We thought
shower of
that
man.
It would be the absolute best thing to do in this situation. And we've been, frankly, waiting for a very long time. So I suppose, without further ado,
I've been waiting my whole life for this theme. You have no idea.
Wait.
sorry.
He's here. Guys,
Sorry.
we can't do this with him here.
Guys, who invited Mahower to the call? Who invited Mahower to the
Burned, was this you?
It's funny because I was actually super pumped for this theme because I actually commissioned art specifically for this theme.
I'm pumped
Yeah?
to see that too.
Yeah, it's true. I totally planned on this Mahower theme.
Man. Now we can't do it with him here though.
See, look at this. Burned has gone out of his way to get this commission done.
Yeah.
By Burned. Who did this commission?
This commission is done by... Sorry. Andy Price, sorry. This commission's done by Andy Price.
Man, that's awesome.
Burned has gone out of his way to get a commission for Andy Price to do this Mahower episode, and now we have to just throw it all out.
Yeah.
Wait, you know what? Just
So,
guys, just throw all of it out. Okay.
You know what?
Just throw. You know what, Mahower? While you're here,
Yeah.
you might as well stay. You know,
we got to
You're
come up with
cool.
another theme though.
You're
like
a cool
last
guy.
minute.
It's not your fault that you exist. Okay. It's fine.
Sometimes
You're
I
a
feel
cool
like
guy.
it is, man.
Guys.
So-
Mahower, do you have a theme for us like that we can actually use since you're here?
There's nothing that could come close to the Mahower theme, but
Of course.
Yeah.
I've gotten requests from people that you guys should do a Spike episode.
I guess we can kind of gather some art up
A
for that.
spike episode, huh?
It's nothing close to Mahower, I'll tell you that,
Yeah.
but it's something.
No, I like it. Okay.
We'll roll with it.
Sure. Let's go with the. Okay, guys. Shift focus here. Just give it a second, but we can do it. All right. So we'll switch over to a Spike theme. Sorry, audience, for this mess of. Oh my god.
Yeah, you know.
Just don't even get me started on this
Professional,
one.
I
But
swear.
Yeah, it would suck if they raised you up and crushed you like that.
we are professionals and we can totally handle this. So let's do Spike. All right. Flutter guy, you got this.
Yeah. Okay. Our first piece is called "The Power Ponies," 16:9 by Mystic Alpha.
Well, the 16:9 isn't really necessary.
I mean, it's 16:9.
It's just the version that fits the screen really nicely.
There's also
Yeah,
a 16 by 10
so-
version.
There is a 16 by 10 version.
Yeah. So Mystic Alpha does this thing, I guess to explain a little bit, where Mystic Alpha is basically amazing. And what he does is he takes all of his pieces that he does and he makes them into like wallpaper sizes, so like standard sizes. And anybody who's listened to the podcast for a while knows that I am a sucker for standardizing sizes. So 16 by 10, 16 by 9 wallpaper sizes, perfect. Ooh,
Yeah.
love it. Look at how nicely it fits the screen here.
You can easily use that as a wallpaper on your 16 by 9 monitor. That's say 1080 by or 1920 by 1080.
You could.
Or
Right, exactly. I love it. I could use this exactly. So yeah, Mystic Alpha, mad props for that. You guys should probably talk about the art.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give mad props to Mystic Alpha for doing that. That's basically degraded into just telling lies and then going April Fools.
yeah. So guys, I'm leaving the fandom.
Right, exactly.
April Fools.
That's an example of an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm secretly a pony.
Guys, I'm secretly
Secretly a
burned.
horse.
Oh my god, that makes
See,
so much
these
sense.
are bad examples because Burns one was actually true.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's true.
anyways, so that's what April Fool's is. It just so happens that it falls on a podcast day, which is interesting. So happy April Fools to all the people watching out there.
Hopefully you guys did some pranking and got pranked, and it was all in good fun and lighthearted.
It's one of those pseudo holidays that like I don't really celebrate. It's more like, oh yeah, it's a thing. It's cool that lots of people do that, and then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm usually busy around April
Yep.
1st, so it's like I'm in the middle of something. So it's not like I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna plan out this huge April Fool's joke. It's more like, oh my god, stress, exams.
yeah.
So
I'll actually be surprised if anyone actually pranks me on April 1st, like, honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, I expect like with my friends, I expect to just be like, her. April Fool's stupid thing, you know.
My,
But that's basically what it becomes.
My roommate doesn't try to prank me anymore because last time we tried it backfired horribly on him.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do the toothpaste and Oreos thing. I just ate the Oreo. I didn't even know there was toothpaste in it.
Oh,
Wow, this
God.
Oreo is really tasty.
Yeah, it was.
so
It was like,
minty.
this is
I
really
love
minty.
mint
This is
Oreos.
great.
Did you dunk it in like a mojito or
No, I just
something?
ate it straight up. I just ate it straight up.
He dunked it in orange juice first, just because. Why
Just
not?
Just
because
toothpaste and
why
orange
not?
juice.
Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 91 for April 1st, 2014. Happy April Fools to everyone out there who knows that. I'm not sure which countries do April Fools. Anyways, my name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and this week's editor of the podcast, and today I'm joined by.
Burned 1, the special guest coordinator of the podcast.
I'm FlutterGuy317, and I do the media managing of the podcast.
And I'm Atmos Spark. I do the questions, the DeviantArt, and the email.
I'm
He's
fairly
multifaceted.
certain. I'm fairly certain that April Fools is not a worldwide phenomenon.
No,
But I suppose once you get like Western plus like North and South America plus Europe, I guess it's good enough.
well, I mean, like
Apparently.
in France, isn't it like Le Poisson d'Avril, the April fish, and like it's kind of the same thing, but like involving fish. I'm not really sure.
I guess. But for people out there who aren't aware of our strange customs, April Fool's Day is a day in which we all decide to play pranks on each other